is Carl Brown from GuitarLessons365.com. Got a banger today. We're going to learn how to do Take Your Whiskey Home by the mighty Van Halen. So this one's kind of bluesy, and the acoustic intro is got a lot going on there. I'm going to kind of do it note for note, but you got to understand something like that. It's really kind of winging that kind of. He's got this main riff he's doing, and he's just kind of adding a lot of fills around it. Probably never played it the same way twice. But we're going to try to get it pretty note for note anyway, and then you can kind of just throw the fills around if you want, or try to do it just like him. And then we're going to go through all the electric guitar parts. I'm going to obviously switch guitars. And that's a lot more kind of streamlined rhythm parts, but then we've got a couple killer solos there that we're also going to tackle. All right, so we're going to take a look at the whole thing. Hope you guys will join me. Before I get into it, please subscribe to the channel. Of course, ring the notification bell. Come on. And, like and comment the lessons. It really helps. Support these lessons by joining my academy. It is the ultimate way to keep these YouTube lessons coming. Anything I do online, the only way I survive is from my guitar academy. And you're going to see a link to that in the description. That link will give you a free 7-day trial, so you can check it out and make sure it's right for you. You get full access to the entire academy, which is all my courses, from complete courses for beginners to more advanced courses on technique, improvisation, ear training, theory, guitar tone. I'm live there with live streams every weekend for just Academy members, so you can ask me questions in real time, and you get personalized support from me beyond that as well, so please go check it out. All right, so we're tuned down a half step here for this song. So E flat or D sharp, A flat or G sharp, depending on what your tuner says, D flat or C sharp. Next string is going to be a G flat or F sharp. B string will be a B flat or an A sharp. And then the high E is going to be an E flat or a D sharp. All right, so he is swinging in this intro. It's really fun to play. It's really kind of a fun thing to just kind of groove on and do your own thing with. But let's start with this beginning. That's kind of the first phrase. We're going to start with this open D string. And then we're going to pick that again, hammer on the 3rd fret, pull back off to the open D. Now, you're going to be grabbing this 3rd fret here on the low E string. So half the notes that you're going to be playing here. So Ed kind of mixes it up. So half the time he's got kind of a quick little swing 16ths. Or sometimes he's just doing a kind of a straight 8th note type thing. So a lot of times that kind of really gives it that kind of a swing feel. So I'm starting this, and when I get to the 3rd fret, I'm going to play with my thumb on the low E string. And it's kind of like a hit on the 3rd fret here. And then a muted hit. So it's kind of like I kind of envision it, he's going to the other notes, he's setting up for the other notes. He's picking the 6th string twice, but he's kind of preparing for the other notes, so he kind of lifts off pressure for that on my thumb, and it creates a muted note. And that last, it's kind of that quick little little swing feel. Okay, and then we get to the meat of the riff. So that's going to be all on the mostly on the D string, 3, 5, and then so it goes 3, 5. When you get to that first 5, we'll just put some vibrato, and then 3, 5. 5, 3, 5, then the double stops here at the 3rd fret on the D and the G. And you hit those a couple of times. So we basically have this. So from the beginning. All right, then we have this next phrase. Key to this is really keep that hand going. Keep that fun, that groove going. And when you're not playing the strings, kind of really hitting these muted hits on the strings, it really kind of brings everything out. So we have right here another one we're going to start with. That'll 3rd fret, kind of hit twice really, but that's the second one is kind of muted. From there, we're going to pull off 3 to 0 on the D, and then 5 on the D, and then those double stops across the D and the G. So this, and then we have this, it's kind of muted hits, and then, and that's going to be 5 3 on the D. I'm sorry, over to 5 on the A and the D if you want. So. But what he's really kind of rolling over here after he hits these 5s here to the 5 on the G and the B, that double stop, and then kind of some muted hits, and then now this is going to be the 3rd fret across 3 strings instead of 2, so that's the D, G, and the B strings. Now I know they're tuned down, I'm still going to just call them their normal names. So this. And remember that it's not straight like this. You gotta get that little swing feel. Whenever you have those 2 hits together, swing it. All right, and then we have the next measure. And that's gonna be, sorry. So another one of those kind of swing, couple hits on the low E, and then with that 3rd fret here. Then you're going to be pulling off 3 to 0 on the D again, 5 twice on the D string, kind of muted hits, and then 3 5 3, another muted hit, and then you're going to hit those double stops at the 3rd fret on the D and the G 3 times. So from the beginning. And then he switches things up here. We don't start with this anymore. It's like this. So that's a quick little rake across the 3rd fret, that same 3rd fret across the D, G, and the B. Kind of quickly rake across that, and then we're going to play 5 3 5 on the D, and then roll over to the double stops here at the 5th fret across the D, the G, and the B. Some muted hits, and then back to that 3rd fret there across the D, G, and the B 3 times. Is that now in ring? So I like to kind of like if you want to learn something like this note for note, it's good to kind of maybe do 4 measures a day. You know, it's a lot going on. Just kind of learn it. And that takes us to when Dave's vocals come in, but maybe just take that, what we just did, and repeat it for a full day, an afternoon, and then start picking up and trying to learn, so you kind of get it in muscle memory. You're not trying to overwhelm yourself with this too many, because it's one of those things where it's a lot of the same thing with variations. So when you have that, it's harder to kind of pinpoint exactly if you want to get it note for note. So then we have verse 1. So when Dave comes in with the vocals, he kind of simplifies the rhythm a little bit, where it's kind of instead of that quick little swing 16th, it's just going to be like, so just that beginning is a little bit different, kind of straighter. So we have this just one time on the 3rd fret on the low E, then 3 5 on the D. So there's this 3 5, then 3 5 5 3 5. So kind of similar to what we did earlier. So pretty much on the D string, and the same thing starting. But then here he does some double stops. Well, and then just into some triple stops. So this is a little bit different. So another little variation he puts in there. Gonna come over here. The 5th fret there on the G and the 6th fret there on the B. And then we're gonna play a couple muted hits, and then 5 across the D, G, and the B. and then a 3 across the D, G, and the B. All right, then it gets back to the kind of that's kind of the same riff we did in the first full time we played it. So with those 2 double stops at the 3rd fret ending it, but it's back to that little swing 16th on the low E. And then we have this. So that is going to be kind of that same little swing 16th feel on the low E twice. So that right there is pulling off 3 to 0 on the D, then over to 5, then pull off 3 to 0 again, back to that 5. So then back to 3 twice, and then you're gonna hit the chord there 3 times. So that's 4 times there. So after Dave came in, so that's another thing, maybe a stopping point, just Dave's part. When the Dave's vocals come in, just those first 4 measures for a Dave. All right, and then we have this, where he starts really kind of mixing it up. All right, so that's kind of 2 measures there, but that's when he's kind of really adding that kind of thing. So this is going to be really the same as quite as like the first full measure that we just repeated a couple measures ago, but without that 16th on the the low E string. So it's just 3 on the low E, 3 on the D, and then that same riff. All right, and then he does this variation. So that starts with that hit there on the 3rd fret there in the low E. And then we're just going to go to this. So have your bar across the 3rd fret of the D, the B, G, and the D, right? Pick just the 2 middle strings there, and you're going to add the 5th fret here on the D string first. So it's 5th fret on the D, 3rd fret on the G. Then release that 5th fret, so it's just the 3rd fret on those 2 strings. And then hit the 3rd fret across the G and the B. So I'll kind of hold the ups right. And then back to the 5th fret there on the D. Then after that 5th fret on the D, hit the 3 notes across the D, G, and the B. And then we have this. So that's sliding down real quick into the 3rd fret there on the A string. Then play 1, 3, 1. So it is. So you gotta hit this. You gotta let those ring out. So then we kind of start back over with the riff. Kind of the same thing. You're really hearing those 2 notes right there on the G and the B. Well, then we had this. So that's kind of the 4th time of maybe the 3rd day, which is this last little fill. Really helps to know the sound of this intro too, but we're going to start here this whole fill. It doesn't do any of the riff here. It's just kind of a complete fill the whole time. So got a couple of muted hits, and then that double stop at the 5th fret there on the G, 6 on the B, and then the 5th fret across the G and the B, and then those 3s across the D, G, and the B. So it is. And then we're going to have that chord we did before with the 5th fret on the D and 3rd fret on the G, but we're going to be barring across the D and the G for the 3rd fret, because you're just going to play this chord and then go back to lift up the 5th finger, so you hit the 3rd fret across the D and the G. Let those ring, and then slide down to 3, then 1. So it is. So those 4 measures there, so the second half of the verse basically is this. So it's that second half of the verse where he starts doing that move when he's going down there to the first position there. So that verse was basically 8 measures. All right, and then we get to the chorus where the rhythm is a little bit more simplified again, the riff, but he does add a couple of fills here, especially in the second measure here. I'll play the whole chorus there, this final chorus, which is, my favorite fill is in the second measure. So it looks like this. All right, so it kind of starts with that same riff, just in kind of the straight 8th. Not kind of a straight 8th, but it's just pure 8th, the 8th note instead of the 16th. So same basic riff there. And then we get to the... So that's my favorite little riff. So it's tricky if you're not picking it correctly. So that's going to start with that 3rd fret there on the low E again. So I'm going to start it here with a downstroke on the open D, hammer on 3, pull back off to the open string. And then you're going to pick down up at the 5th fret on the D string. So we basically repeat this riff again, this lick, but you're going to start it with an extra open D string before it. So instead of straight into the hammer So there's a kind of an extra note on the D before you get into that lick. Do that with an upstroke so you keep the picking consistent. So the first time playing it, you're going to go straight into it. So it's down, hammer, pull, down, down, up. So down, hammer, pull, down, up. And then start the riff over by starting with a quick upstroke on the D, and then starting that same exact riff again with the downstroke on the D. So and then those 3 set twice. So it is. All right, then really kind of the riff again. And then we have the last little variation. So after this, we do this back to the double stops across the, I like kind of hitting those dead notes in between it. So we're gonna hitting all the double stop with upstrokes. So that's gonna be the 5th fret there on the G, 6th on the B. And then you kill it real quick, really staccato feel here. Then the 5th fret across the G and the B, the 3rd fret across the G and the B, and then you're gonna come over to the 3rd fret there on the D and the G, and hit that double stop. And when you pull off, you're just kind of pulling off. You just kind of hear the open D string when he lifts off. So it is. And then back to the straight riff again. Done twice, and then you're going to end the acoustic section with a power chord here at the 3rd fret of the low E string. All right, so now let me switch to electric, and we'll continue through the track. All right, so we are still tuned down to half steps. The electric guitars and are obviously in the same tuning as the acoustic. And we're gonna start with this I love the vibe when this kind of kicks in. So that's just, the way he comes in is slightly different with the riff when he first starts. So he's gonna start here with just 3, 4, 5 on the D. And then over to the those double stops at the 3s that we did just like in the acoustic. Holds those, you hear a quick little pick scrape, and then he hits that power chord at the 3rd fret of the low E again.
that we ended the acoustic section with. So this. And then we're gonna start back with this riff again, but now we're gonna add an open D string in front of it. Once again, like we did before, start that open D with an upstroke, kind of makes it sound. So hit that open D in there. The rest of the riff's the same, but now different ending. When you get to that 3, you're gonna slide it up. So I'm kind of playing the 3rd fret across the D, G, and the B. Slide it up, and then when you get to the 10th position, you're gonna play this, the G power chord right there, the 10th fret of the A string. So this. And then we start the riff the same way with the open D in front of it. Into that G power chord again. And then the riff again with the open D in front of it. But here we have a quick little trill between 3 and 5 on the G. And then you up and hit that G power chord twice. So we have this all together. All right, then we get to the main riff on electric for the verse. Looks like this. So it's very similar to the riff in the acoustic section, the kind of stripped down version of it. Now he does do slight variations here. So when he first starts, he hits the note on the low E string on the 3rd fret there, and then into the 5th fret there on the D. So that's a little bit different. So, that kind of first note is kind of on the up. So kind of where that is it's the 3rd fret on the low E first, so it is. And then the same riff. And then we have the same riff again, just starting from the 3rd fret there on the D string. So this. So hit that low E, because a lot of times he's gonna start that low E, or the 3rd fret there, when he does that riff. But remember, that very first time, it was just that. They're here. And then the 3rd time through, he changes it up again. He still has that starts it with the 3rd fret there on the low E. He goes over to the 3rd fret on the G string, and then back to that 5th fret on the D and continue the riff the same way. And then the 4th time through, we had this little fill. So that right there, start the riff same. And we do this, you're gonna play a kind of C major chord here, across the 5th fret of the G, B, and the D. Hammer on that 5th fret there. I'm gonna start at 6th fret on the B. Pull back off the 5. Down to the 3rd fret across the D, G, and the B. So. And then when it goes back to start another 4 through that riff, because since we're holding this at the end of the first time around through the 4, we skip and we play that just like we did at the beginning, where it's that kind of upbeat hit on the 3rd fret of the low E into the 5th fret of the D. And from there, the riff is just the same way each time. Just kind of played 3 times that way. All right, so then we get, when we move up to the, we're gonna take the same riff, pretty much just move it up 2 frets, and this is gonna be the chorus. Like I said, very simple for kind of Van Halen rhythm standards. He puts that same fill in there. All right, so that's just kind of like the same basic riff we've been doing. But we did. Push this up 2 frets at the 5th. And then the second time through, we do that same fill with there. We're gonna do it here. So this. And then the third time through the riff, since we're holding that chord, we have that quick little pickup on the low E string, 5th fret. That version of it, basically. So the rhythm is just slightly different. So this. I think that's the normal version for the rest of it. To the end of the chorus, which is going to end with just hits on the power chord A. 2 sets of 2 hits each. And then we get to the first solo, which is really short, but really fun to play. So it looks like this. All right, so that's gonna start with this bend and release at the 9th fret, the first phrase, the 9th fret on the G. And then when you bend up the second time, tap the 12th fret, pull back off, release the bend, pull off the 7th fret, hammer back onto a 9, bend up again, and then tap 14. So this. Pull off to the 9, and then he's kind of going across like 7 on the B, 7 on the G, to 9 on the G. So you do that like twice, and then back to the 7 on the G. So with this. Kind of really digging in those notes. And then he has this really odd. So that's going to start, it's kind of a rake from 9. You're going to hold 9 on the D, then 7 on the G, and 7 on the B, and hammer on 10 on the B. So he's raking these 3 notes. And then he's going to hammer on that 10th fret. Now, as he's holding that note, you're going to take your picking hand and come over here and hold now, and obviously Eddie's using his index finger for this, but you're going to play the 4th fret there on the B, the G string, so it's the B note. So, and then what he's going to do in the right hand, he kind of pulls back off the 7, and he goes over to the G string and slides into the 10th fret there on the G. So we have basically this. So you're ready to go now for the tapping lick, with the pull-off lick that he does. So he's holding this note in the fret hand. He's holding this note with the picking hand at the 4th fret. And what you're gonna do here, after you slide to that 10th fret on the G, you'll pull off down to 9, 7, and then pull off to that note that you're holding with your here at the 4th fret. So we have this. Then you're gonna play 9, hammer on that 9, 7, pull back off to the note that you're holding, and then do that 10, 9, 7 again. So this 10, 9, 7, pull off, 9, 7, pull off, 10, 9, 7, pull off, and then hammer back on to the 9th fret. So it kind of. And then he kind of pulls off to the open G. And then he does this, kind of goes back on the 9. Really staccato picking. But just kind of slowly bending it up, and then he does this this really big bend to end it. And that's the end of the solo. So it's very, very, very quick, but got tons of little Eddie-isms in it. Then it takes us back to verse number 2. So verse number 2 is pretty similar as verse 1. There's just a little fill in it. All right, so this riff is played except for the 4th time through. So the first 3 times through, just the same riff. But the 4th time looks like this. So that's kind of the, you're gonna hit that low E string to start. This is 4 time through. Slight bend on the 3rd fret there on the G. Over to 4th fret there on the D. And then we're gonna have, so that's gonna be pulling off 3 to 0 on the G. And then 3 to 0 on the D. And then play 4 on the D string. Pull off 3 to 0 again, let that ring. And because we're letting that note ring, yeah, that'll pick up note now on the low E instead of going, yes. It's kind of a little bit differently placed. And then the same rhythm. Kind of the normal. Then we just take it to chorus 2, the same as chorus 1. I say it's the same except for that ending there, which is instead of 2 hits of 2 A's, it's gonna do the 2 hits on the A first, then you're gonna have A, B flat, so that power chord at the first riff. And then we get to solo number 2, which is the real star of the show here. So let me play through it for you real quick and I'll show you how to play it note for note. All right, so that solo has got some crazy success, especially with me. I have to sit here with this guitar in this weird position, so doing these big stretches up here is next to impossible. So it's all I can do to get that lick going. But, you know, first world problems, I guess. But anyway, oh, being a YouTuber, how great. So now, let's start here with this first phrase. So it's just kind of similar to how we started the first solo. Just a bend of the 9th fret there on the G. Kind of milking that a little bit. He's just kind of going back between the 9 and the 7 on the G for a little bit. He's going to end it with a quick pull off 9 to 7 on the D. So there's nothing really kind of strict about that. And then we have this. So that starts out with kind of a standard Eddie rake, which is around just B minor here. So that's the 9th fret there on the D string, and then 7th on the G, B, and the high E. And then he comes back and catches the 7th fret there on the B. And then he jumps up here to the 12th fret there on the high E. And then he starts this kind of, that little kind of standard, he does that lick quite a bit as well. So it's kind of like, so it's kind of 9, 10, 12 on the high E string. Then play 10, hammer on 12, pull off to 10. and pull off down in. And then you're gonna pull off 12 to 9 on the high E, then 10 on the B, slide down to 6, and then you're gonna start. It does this a couple times, where he's tapping the 10 and he's pulling off the 6, hammer 7, pull off back up to 6. And then we go over to a tap on the 9 on the G, pull off to 7 on the G, down the 6 on the G. So hammer back on that 7, tap 9 again, and then end it with this back to the 7. So it's kind of like. All right, now we get to this crazy lick. The band kind of cuts out here. And we're gonna start here. It's gonna start with that little thing. So we're gonna play 12 on the high E and then reach all the way up here to the 19th fret. So this is an odd position here because I have to really aim my fingers because I have to keep this guitar really horizontal for this camera shot. So we have 19 and then pull off to 12. So we have 12 first, then pull off 19 to 12. So that starts everything. Then all the action is going to happen on the B string. So this is basically two different patterns that he uses here. He has one starting pattern and ending pattern, the same pattern that ends it, starts it and ends it, and then there's a pattern that's done 3 times in between. So how you want to look at it is this. So after this little, you can just think of that 3 notes to just start the whole thing. And then we have this. So that started with 19, pull off to 12, hammer on 17, pull off to 12. So that's the first pattern. So it's a little 4-note pattern. All right. And then from there, you're gonna do a different pattern 3 times. So you're gonna pick the 19 again, pull off to 12, hammer on 15, hammer on 17, pull back up to 12. So it's kind of this. So you do that one 3 times. That fast. So he starts with this one, and then he goes to the other riff. And then he's gonna end it with the same first riff lick that he played, that 4-note. That one with the 19, pull off to 12, hammer on 17, pull off to. So all together, those 3 notes pick up, and then the ending riff again. So after you do that, shows his little Eric Clapton influence, which is heavily influenced by Clapton. And this is a Clapton lick, played about 25 times faster than Eric Clapton ever played it. So this is gonna be, so that's gonna be, so right out of this, so after you do this last pull off, shift back here and get ready for this. So that's gonna be pulling off 15 to 14 to 12, over to 14 on the 15, 14, 12, pull off there on the G, over to 14 on the D, back to 14 on the G, and then play 12, hammer on 13 on the G. Up to 12 on the high E string, pull off 15 to 12 on the B, and then into some monster bends at the 15th fret on the high E string, a couple of them. So out of this, there's a bunch of notes just fly at like 1,000,000 miles an hour. All right, from there we this. So that's going to be kind of raking into the 15th fret there on the B string, and then over to the 14th fret on the high E string, kind of like a staccato licks here, and then this 17, 16, 15, 14, all staccato on the B string, and then do a step-and-a-half bend there at the 14th fret there on the B. All right, and then we have this. So it's more huge bend. So you're gonna slide into the 13th fret there on the G, to the 12th fret on the high E string, 2 whole step bend at the 15th fret there on the B string, then play 15 on the high E string, and then to a whole step bend. So just kind of end it with a whole step bend at that same note on the B string. And you can end the solo with. So that's gonna slide into the 9th fret there on the A string, and then we're gonna go. So you're gonna hammer 9 to 12 on the D and the G. So after that slide to 11, hammer 9 to 12 on the D and the G. So it's this same little lick, which is play the 9th fret on the high E string. Oh, sorry, the B string, the 9th fret. And you kind of bend up the note on the G to match, and pull off to 9. So it doesn't. So they kind of repeat that. So. And then you're gonna end it with that half step bend on the 12th fret on the G. So, all right, and then we get to the ending with the outro, which is this. All right, you can do this anywhere, that last D. This sounds a little bit brighter. So anyway, so that's just kind of started like we did in the beginning, where you're just gonna play the 3 notes without the open D first. So we're gonna be here at the 10, 11, 12 on the D, into the double stop there, the 12 on the 10 on the D and the G. Into that power chord here at the 10th fret of the low E string. Slide that down. And then you start that riff again, this time picking up that open D string in front of it. So it still does it here. And then he does this. So that's just the 12th fret across the D and G and the B. And then the 10th fret across the same 3 strings. And then slide that down. So this. All right, then the same riff, picking up with the open D. Back to that power chord, the D power chord, off the 10th fret of the low E again. And then the same riff again. And then here, this last D you can hit there. It just almost sounds like he's saying a little bit brighter, like maybe the D major chord, the D major here, or the here. To end the song, something like that. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun to play. It's got a really cool groove to it and a really cool vibe. It's 2 killer solos. So hope to see you guys again soon for guitarlessons365.com.